Good morning, and welcome to Wellspring. My name is Judy Bethman, and I'm on the Board of Trustees here at Wellspring. And I'm part of your Sunday, July 31st, 2022. Where'd the half year go? My stars. We have a few announcements. The early birds are still meeting Sunday mornings at 9:30 via Zoom. The link is in the weekly email and on the website. Our upcoming speakers for August are Reverend Kamatara, Dr. Edward, and then Reverend Bram. I don't know if we can do two Dr. Edwards back to back. It might be too much for us, huh? You never know. Okay. The social event for August is an afternoon at the theater, Sunday, August 14th, 2 o'clock. The actors will have body mics so the hearing impaired shouldn't have difficulty. Nonsense is a hilarious musical farce about a convent of nuns staging a fundraiser to enable them to bury the last 4 dead nuns of their order who died of botulism in an unfortunate convent cooking accident, and who are temporarily being stored in the freezer. The Little Sisters of Hoboken would invite you. The church is going as a group on Sunday the 14th, is that correct? See Vicki Avery for the details. This Thursday evening group continues in their series of videos by Greg Braden. Each evening will consist of a video by Greg following the discussion amongst the groups. Are you done with the 7 Essene mirrors? Oh, we're still talking about the 7 Essene mirrors followed by other cogent topics. This series began on July 7th at 7 p.m. and will last for 8 weeks. Meeting will be held in the Wellspring Social Hall and on Zoom. See Edward or Cleona for more information. The New Thought Ladies Luncheon Potluck will be Thursday, August 25th at CSL starting at 11:30. And lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may submit a request via our webpage. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider sitting in your quiet space during that time. We know that we are one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. All right. So let's take a deep breath in, hold it, and relax. Get comfortable in your place of being. And let's invite Spirit. Dear Mother, Father, Great Spirit, come with us into our adventure on this Sunday morning. Be around us, guide us through our music, our meditations, and our speakers' thoughts. We know we are one with you and never apart from you. For this we give great thanks, and so it is. All right, stand if you are able, and this is the last Sunday to sing Top of the World. I'm on the top of the world, looking down on creation, and the only explanation I can find is the love that I found and the spirit all around. God's love puts me at the top of the world. Such a feeling's Great, you may be seated. And let's do our vision, mission, and affirmation statement. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. And our affirmation: as summer is upon us, we marvel at how the seasons flow one another, ever changing in a universal pattern. The divine intelligence is ever expressing itself in the continuous movement of the earth, the sun, and the universe. We acknowledge and affirm that the same divine intelligence is expressing through us and leading us to ever grateful and more joyful experiences. For this we are grateful, and it is so. And it's now my great pleasure to introduce Randy Granger for his first song.
That's a nice affirmation. You're welcome to sing along. In fact, I'd love it if you did. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. There is no sickness, no toil, no danger in that bright land, oh, to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father and all my loved ones who've gone home. You know I'm going over Jordan. No, I'm going home. I know dark clouds will gather o'er me. I know my way, well, it's rough and steep. Beauteous fields arise before me, where God's redeemed, oh, their vigils keep. And I'm going there to see my mother. She said she'd meet me when I come home. You know I'm going over Jordan. You know I'm going home. We're all going over Jordan. We're all we're going home. Thank you.
Well, the reading for today is a miss because this week has been unusually brimful for me, and I forgot to contact Randy. So I'm just going to open the book and plop it down and see where it comes. Who knows, okay? Since the law is mental, one must believe in it in order to have it work affirmatively for him. But it is always working according to its belief, whether he is conscious of this truth or not. Demonstration takes place through the field of the one universal mind. We set the power in motion, the law produces the effect. We plant the seed, and the law produces the plant. One should never allow himself to think of or talk about limitation or poverty. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. The more spiritual the thought, the higher its manifestation. Spiritual thought means an absolute belief in and reliance upon truth. This is both natural and normal. All is love, and yet all is law. Love is in the impelling force, and law executes the will of love. Man is the center of God, consciousness in the great whole. He cannot deface his real being, but may hinder the whole from coming into a complete expression through his life. Turning to the one with complete abandonment and absolute trust, he will find that he is already saved, healed, and prospered. Thank you, Spirit. And now, Randy. You're gonna...
Thank you, Judy. Perfection, right? You can never go wrong with a reminder that all is mental, all is mind, all is what we're creating with every single thought, every word, every action. And it dovetails, I think, nicely into what I'll be talking about. I want to start with a story from the White River Sioux people that I think is really fitting, and something that it's an older story that I think really reflects what we might be going through as a culture right now. The story is called The Old Woman in the Cave. Now, the old people of the tribes, they would all talk about this special cave where all the knowledge and all the wisdom and all the workings of the world were in this cave. Yet, when they went to look for it, nobody could find it. They think, I just past Baylor Pass. It's just on the other side of Aguirre Springs. No, wait, I think it's, nobody could ever find it. So inside of this cave is this old woman, and she has been weaving. She's been weaving this beautiful garment with such care for as long as anyone can remember. She wants to fashion the most beautiful garment ever made. Now, she's been weaving for a long time, and she's reached a point where she's making the fringe on the edge of this garment, kind of like a cloak, kind of like a shawl. And for the detail work, she's had to use porcupine needles. In order to use a porcupine needle, she gets the porcupine needles, and she kind of chomps on them with her teeth to make them really, really fine. She's been doing this for so long, her teeth are barely nubs and just barely just below her gums. So a lot of dedication. Still, she keeps biting down and she keeps weaving. The only time she interrupts this work is when she has to go back to the back of the cave and to stir this great cauldron over this fire that's older than anyone can possibly recall. Now, occasionally she goes back to stir this cauldron because in this cauldron are all the seeds and all the roots and all the plants and everything that makes everything grow on the earth. And if she didn't stir it, it would all scorch and pretty much everything would be lost. So the old woman, she divides her time between weaving the garment and stirring this cauldron. In a sense, you could say that she is responsible for weaving things together, but also responsible for stirring things up. She senses that when the time comes, and she goes and she puts her weaving down carefully. Then she goes and she goes back to stir, but because she's old and has a hard time getting around, who knows how old she is, but she goes very slowly, in other words. And she goes back there, and as soon as she goes back to the cave to stir the cauldron, the black dog wakes up. What black dog? That black dog that's sitting there. It's been there the whole time, but it looks asleep. It's very sneaky, that little black dog. And she goes to the back of the cave, and this black dog gets up, and he just kind of ambles over to the rug, and he starts kind of just pulling at it with his teeth, and then he pulls out another one with his teeth, and pretty soon that part of the rug is completely unraveled. It's unraveled. It's all of her nice work is just completely gone. And since every thread has been woven on one another, pulling on one thread, makes them all come apart, unravel, and fray. So as the pot is being stirred up, the elegant garment comes apart and becomes a chaotic mess on the floor. So when she comes back and she looks at her handiwork and it's completely chaos. Oh, and she stares at it for a very long time. And so she thinks, okay, what am I going to do? But then she just gets down there in one thread, and she starts putting them back together. And pretty soon she's reweaving, and she starts getting a better vision, a newer vision of an even more beautiful garment. So she ignores that black dog and just begins to do the work. And after a while, her skilled and knowledgeable hands just create this beautiful garment. So she's weaving this elegant pattern, and that her hands just get right to work. They know what to do. They know how to recreate. Soon she's forgotten that cloak that she was making, and she's making another one. And so her intent once again is to make the most beautiful garment ever seen in the world. But really it's a lesson for all of us that even in chaos, a new pattern will always appear if we're willing to see it. James Joyce had this term that he used in some of his writings, and he would say, "Welcome to the chaosmos," Sometimes it can feel that way. I've been reflecting lately on the unraveling, what feels like the unraveling of our world, and that each of us, how we hold on to an idea of an ideal world, and we project our own values and our own beliefs into what we want to see. Ironically, those different ideas don't always mesh. Sometimes they can cause the very fraying of relationships and groups and families and societies. As the saying goes, it takes two to tango, but it also takes two to tangle. But while we're all united, we're all also unique individual expressions of the divine, of spirit, of creator. We need to find love. We need to feel love. We need to be accepted and seen for who we really are. But we also need connection. Recently, I was grilling in my backyard, and I was looking at my prayer flags, and I just couldn't help noticing they were kind of swaying in the wind. It was after some mass shooting that had happened, and I was thinking that each thread, the whole concept behind prayer flags is that you pray into them, and that each thread that gets taken off and carried by the wind is a prayer that gets taken up to Creator. And I was also thinking that each one of those threads could also be one of the lives that has been taken or lost, like a frayed thread. Because violence and conflict, they tear at the very fabric of our lives and tear at the very fabric of humanity. This tapestry. When any person or group is denied its humanity, all of humanity is denied. We're so connected. Now, the cave story, I think, is about who is willing to go back into that original darkness of creation, and in that darkness, stand in there and recreate. So many creation stories and emergence stories, they begin in caves when you think about it. They begin in places of deep earth. The creation stories of the Hopi, some of the Hopi say that they followed the ant people out. The ant people were going to show them this new place to live. And if you look back at, Plato and his cave story, we have so many cave stories that begin in the darkness of creation. So those willing to go back and stand in the darkness, we do so hoping to find the light of our beings hidden in that dark. Like Martin Luther King Jr. said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. I've always thought that love is the indestructible wick of our divine connection. It's that flame that will never go out, that like Ernest Holmes would talk about, the secret place of the Most High, that sanctuary, that cave, even the old instructions of Christianity, when you pray, go into that closet here, and go into that darkness, because that's where the recreation happens. You shut everything out and you connect with that divine wick. When you feel connected with life and with others, you would only dream of helping them. You would never dream of hurting somebody. But when you dehumanize or hurt people, those people have long since lost their connection to their own lives, and they've turned away from their own inner sacred connection, from their humanity. As Richard Rohr is often quoted as saying, pain that is not transformed is transmitted. Hurt people hurt people. Causing others pain will never cure your own pain. Some days it can feel like we're barely hanging on by a thread, though. As the saying goes, and at some point we have to decide that outside circumstances cannot dictate our joy, our beauty, or our reweaving. We also have to decide, just like the reading said, that it is only our imaginations that can make us whole, not institutions or leaders or politicians or governments. That's what that reading was talking about. It's mental. Our creation is mental. Our imagination is the richest thing that we have. It comes from our soul source when we think of a new world. So now as we're trying to think of how we want to see a world, not for us, but like most of the Sioux pray for the seventh generation out, every decision they made was with the seventh generation in mind. So we think in our imagination first, and we think, just like the woman in the cave, and she's saying, okay, what pattern is going to come? And so she just gets in there and starts doing the work of reweaving. And it's her imagination, and pretty soon she starts seeing an even more beautiful garment. It can seem daunting, one person holding on to one thread of hope and vision, but it is how every beautiful garment is made or woven, one thread at a time. And like the old Hindu saying says, if you ever doubt the ability of one small person to affect change, sleep in a tent with a mosquito. And so as a reminder. Pema Chodron is one of my favorite authors. She is a Buddhist nun, just a fantastic writer, and she has this to say about it. This is from her book, which I'd recommend to everyone, When Things Fall Apart, but this is what she says. We think that the point is to pass the test or to overcome the problem, but the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. So I've been thinking, how do we reweave? How do we begin to put together a world that we want to leave to those yet who are going to come and pray in this place, or are going to look at those mountains? Well, and what came to me was loving kindness meditation. It's also called metta. And it's just a great way because I'll tell you what the words are here in a moment, but the concept of loving kindness, it's not new. It's been around a while, but it starts with acknowledging you first, that you have some love for yourself and then for others. Not in a naive way, but in a deep, true spiritual way. So the goal of loving kindness meditation is to focus that unconditional love inward and then outwards. You want good things to happen to other people. You are wishing well for the other people and yourself. Metta is the ancient word for loving kindness, and it's translated to mean friendliness and goodwill, fellowship and nonviolence. This is a good thing to do anytime you're in a situation where you feel some anger rising or some resentment or some judgment coming up within you, or just even when you get up in the morning or just before you go to bed at night. Now, one of the aspects of loving kindness that we have to keep in mind is that we can't let fear or anger win. We just can't. Anger is like swallowing poison and hoping it kills the other person. It never works. But too often our reactions make worse whatever initially made us angry. You send that email in a flash of rage, or you post a comment, or you do the one finger wave to the driver next to you. Those things that we regret. Because anger is compared to a forest fire, that it's a spark that can leave a devastation in its wake. You have to care more about your personal peace than being right or correcting or judging others. There's a saying in psychology, about couples and couples therapy. Do you want to be right or you want to be happy? And keep that in mind. Now, the other part of this is practicing kindness towards everyone, Just make it a habit. Make it your way of being. I am a kind person. That's just your way of being. When we stop to think that every human being really does want to be happy, just like me, then we're open to a new perspective from that person. Who knows what's going on in that person's life? Maybe all they really want is connection, and upsetting or lashing out at others is the only way they have ever known to connect. We have to learn to live with one another, or we all sink. You know, I remind myself, like when I'm on tour and I'm driving through Houston or San Antonio or one of those incredibly busy traffic places, when I say something like traffic is terrible, I remind myself I am also the traffic, you know. So when I'm at Walmart and I'm in line and I go, oh, there's only one cashier, and I go, well, I am the line too, you know. And so that immediately shifts my perspective, and I go, okay, use this time to do affirmations, Randy. Use this time to recreate how you want your world to be. Find a way to be nice to somebody. Compliment somebody's watermelon, you know, just find something nice to say. But loving fully really means breaking out of that us versus them mentality and accepting everyone's totality regardless. I've played music for the near death and dying in hospice for many years, and I have felt that sacredness, that connection, that silver thread. And I've helped loved ones as they've passed, just holding on to unconditional love, and I've noticed a peacefulness that eventually comes in. I've been a caregiver to loved ones through some of the most challenging times with grace as the only witness. And I felt that thread, that silver thread that connects everyone to everything. I've witnessed it. And I've realized that love is our thread. Love is really the only way that we are going to reweave this world. So the loving kindness meditation, if you haven't heard it, the way it's just 4 phrases, it's 4 little lines of words, and you can change them any way that you want to. But the way I do it most often is first I start with myself and I say, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may I live with ease. And I bring someone that comes into my heart or comes into my mind, and I say, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you live with ease. I expand it. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. And then I think of somebody who I really don't want to be happy or healthy or safe. And I say, may you be happy. May you be healthy. I mean, I really internalize it. I really internalize it. And it's helped me cut those cords of unforgiveness or judgment, because those aren't serving anyone any good. Then I can reweave. So I'm going to end with the affirmation that you said. It's almost word for word what I'm going to read for you now. It's just coincidence. This is from the Rig Veda. This is the Rig Veda was it's a Hindu Sanskrit book of prayer hymns. If you've ever known any Indian drummers that play the, taba, those are actually prayers that they learned before. So, of course, I don't know any Sanskrit, unfortunately, but I was friends with drummer who had gone to India and learned all of that, and he said it all begins as a prayer. I'll just use an example of that, and so you're actually saying prayers. Well, that's from that book too. So these beautiful hymns of just, these are prayers to creation, to spirit, to God. So I'm going to end with this. It's just beautiful. It says, we join with each other, we join with the earth and with each other to bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air, to join with the earth and with each other, to renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures. We join with the earth and with each other, to celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars. We join with the earth and with each other, to recreate the human community, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children, to join with the earth and with each other. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I can't seem to stay in one spot, so I got to move this with me. So nice to see all of you here today. And Randy, thank you for the message. And so we'll take this into prayer. We always start our prayers out with our intention. What do we place into that intention? And usually it is for health, wealth, the belief and support by the Spirit, of course, is what wealth and abundance is. Peace of mind. And Randy spoke of that today a little bit, about this divisiveness that we see all around us. So we know that the one great Spirit, that which is everything, that which is all, that which is love, peace, joy, happiness, abundance, strength, wisdom, that oneness is all there is. And we also know that as a result of being a piece and a part of that, that everything that I just spoke of, that peace, that joy, that love, that abundance, that power, that peace, is who we are. Each and every one of us is a piece and a part of that. And all that flows in, through, and around each and every one of us. It touches us. It moves us. It lives through us. It experiences through us all that it is. So we just touch into that for ourselves. We hold that for ourselves. We hold that for this prayer. And for our friends and our family, those who are experiencing what looks like discomfort, what looks like less than perfection, we know that they too are a piece and a part of that. And that same great oneness flows through them, supports them, lifts them, encourages them, and above all, loves them. There is no spot in this world that love does not exist. And so as we open our hearts, we feel that love, and we just extend that to everyone that we know they may be experiencing difficulties at this time. So we know that is merely passing, merely a lesson on their way toward becoming better understanding that magnificent being they are. And so as we set this prayer up like the computer program it is, we know that the outcome is already predetermined. So as we turn the crank, so to speak, we turn this over to God, to Spirit, to the law, as Ernest Holmes says. We just turn this prayer over and allow it to be working through each of us. But we know that the law always says yes. Yes, my beloved. It is done as you believe. So we release it. We know that it is already done. And we give great thanks for that. And so it is. Now we have some more guest music from Randy.
Somebody's crying and no one hears. Afraid of dying and no one's near. Somebody's losing hope, while the wheels of power keep turning. Light a candle in the darkness, shine a light where evil hides. Be a voice for those in silence. Speak the truth, keep hope alive. Light a candle. Somebody's trying to stop the tears. They're not giving in to threats and fears. Somebody's choosing hope, while the wheels of power keep turning. Light a candle in the darkness, shine a light where evil hides. Be a voice for those in silence. Speak the truth, keep hope alive. Light a candle in the darkness, shine a light where evil hides. Be a voice for those in silence. Speak the truth, keep hope alive. Light a candle, be a candle. Thank you.
Ooh, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was just lovely. And let us all be a bright candle, right? If everyone lit just one little candle, what a bright place it would be. All right. As we acknowledge and receive our personal and in-person gifts, we give great thanks for the offerings already given and those we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are both part of the one flow. We affirm that we are also part of that flow. We bless these gifts and know that they are multiplied throughout our community. We thank you for joining us today. There are a number of folks who have contributed to the production of the service, and we are grateful for their service. And we thank you for joining us today in Zoom land and here in the sanctuary. And lastly, stay around in the Zoom meeting after the service or join us in the social hall to visit and reconnect. Please stand if you are able and read with me the benediction followed by our congregational song. Spirit, in the midst of is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world, and so it is. you.